Hello, I'm Dr. Moore with Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Today we're talking about back injuries. It's starting to get warm here in Tennessee and we see a ton of lower back injuries as things warm up because people get out and they're doing stuff. They're mulching gardens, they're working on projects, they're lifting heavy things. Everybody's really busy and you're busy watching this video. So you don't have a ton of time, but if you were going to do something, maybe one or two things to try and keep your back safe this time of year. Maybe you throw your back out a couple times a year for a while and you just kind of dealt with it. But how could you avoid that this time of year? Well, that's what we're talking about today. I'm going to give you some practical advice to keep your lower back safe, keep you from being miserable. Stick around. Okay, so why do we see so many lower back injuries in the spring? It is because we're kind of going 0 to 60 with the activity of our lower back. If you're gonna go out and you're gonna mulch a garden, or you're gonna work on a deck, or you're gonna, shovel out a ditch, what you're doing is during our normal day, we bend and pick something up off the floor, or we, pick up our bag and walk out the door, but we don't do this, the bending forward and the coming up over and over and over, like you will on a weekend when you're doing projects, a ton more than you normally do. And that stresses some structures in our back, right? The muscles, the discs. And so how can we keep ourselves from overwhelming our back and safeguard that? We have two strategies, okay? One is we're gonna do abdominal bracing. Now, abdominal bracing is when we use our core to keep ourselves from overworking the muscles in our back. Most people do it wrong. We have this misconception when people tell us to, use your core, tighten your core. What we do is we kind of suck in like we're flexing our abs, right? But that's actually backwards. If you ever watch a power lifter or an athlete that has to pick up something really heavy, they have the workout belts, right? But when they pick something up, their stomach doesn't get smaller. The belt, they don't get slack in the belt. They push out and that belt gets really tight, like it's about to, unlink. They're about to bust through it. And that's what you need to do with abdominal bracing. And so it's not the suck in, it's actually pushing out. And so that creates pressure in our core with our diaphragm. It stabilizes our back, keeps us from overworking the muscles in our lower back, and it also keeps our discs safe. A lot of people herniate discs or bulge discs when they're out doing these projects that we're talking about. And abdominal bracing is a great way to keep yourself safe when you're doing that. We're gonna link to the video that tells you in depth how to do that bracing so you can show yourself, or you can teach yourself at home and use that when you have to do the bending and pick up the heavy things. It's a great way to keep yourself from injuring your back. Okay, next strategy, we're going to talk about a stretch called press-ups, right? The reason press-ups is a great thing to do to keep your back safe is because, like we said before, we're about to be doing a lot of bending forward. And not to get technical, but if you do that bending forward, flexion of your lower back over and over and over, what you can do is start to irritate or put a lot of pressure on the back part of your disc because we're just doing one thing over and over. If we could equalize that pressure in the disc by doing extension, something that we're not doing as much of, that's gonna help keep your lower back safe. So we're gonna also link to this video called press-ups. And if you can just plug this in, do it, before and after you do some yard work or do it a couple times a week. It's a good way to keep your back healthy and keep you from injuring yourself this time of year. Both of these strategies, that abdominal bracing and the press-ups that we've linked to, you can think of it like brushing your teeth, right? You get into trouble with your teeth if you just don't pay attention to them. If you just decide, it hurts, but I'm gonna ignore it, right? Same way with your back. If you just do these things once in a while to keep things functioning normally, then it's gonna pay dividends in the future. You won't have arthritis. You won't have the stuff, or at least you won't be as likely. So work on those two things. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, last thing I wanted to talk about, is kind of an analogy. We all know that person who has the bad back. It goes out maybe once or twice a year and they're kind of bedridden for a few days. That's kind of like spraining your ankle. The biggest risk factor for spraining your ankle is, have you sprained your ankle before? If you sprained it once, you're more likely to sprain it again in the future. And that's because an injury to our ankle, when we sprain it, it leaves behind scar tissue, and it also changes the way our brain perceives our ankle. It leaves us with less coordination, and that puts us at an increased likelihood of spraining it again. And it's the same with your back. The reason that athletes go through rehab for a sprained ankle is because they don't want to sprain it again. But we always ignore our injuries like our lower back strain. We just say, oh, well, I'll just rest. You know, I'll do bed rest for a few days and it'll get better. But then we injure it again. We wonder why, right? It's because we never took the time to address it when it is a problem and it keeps cropping up. So if you know somebody who has that bad back that goes out every so often, maybe that's you, let them know we're here, because this is a service that they need. You don't want to just keep kicking that can down the road and then have a bad back in your 40s and 50s and wonder why. Address it while it's a small issue. So I hope this helps this spring. If you have a bad back or you throw something out, give us a call. We'd love to help you with it. This is Dr. Moore with Cumberland Chiropractic and Sports Medicine, where we get you better, faster.